Markel was a Florida State University law professor, tragically gunned down in 2014 in the middle of a vicious custody dispute with his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson. Wendy's brother, Charlie, and her mother, Donna, orchestrated a murder-for-hire plot fueled by their desperate desire to move Wendy and the boys from Tallahassee to South Florida. While Wendy has been named an unindicted co-conspirator, she has not been charged and maintains she has no involvement in the killing. Since Donna's conviction, all the attention now has turned to Wendy. And tonight, we have uncovered the police interviews of Wendy's ex, who provides incredible insight into the case. And tonight, we will play it for you. But first, at the Monster Mania Horror Convention in Cherry Hill, New Jersey in August of 2022, the atmosphere shifted from fandom to accusation. Gary Busey, then 78 years old, was removed from the event after multiple women reported he had groped them during photo ops. Charged with 2 counts of 4th-degree criminal sexual contact, 1 count of attempted criminal sexual contact, and 1 count of harassment, he denied wrongdoing. Fast forward to July 31st, 2025, and Gary Busey pleaded guilty to a single count of criminal sexual contact.
It is my understanding you wish to plead guilty to a 4th-degree sexual contact, criminal sexual contact. Is that correct?
Am I pleading guilty?
And today, Busey was back in court for his sentencing, and we have all the big moments. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Have you ever been to one of those big fan festivals like Comic-Con? I mean, these are places where, you know, you're a fan of whatever shows or whatever genre, and everyone gathers and they all get together. Comic-Con, the granddaddy of them all. It's a huge festival. People dress up for it. People look forward to it every year. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger every year. I was just at CrimeCon, which is getting that way in the true crime world. There I am taking some pictures. One of the pictures I took with the thousands of people that were there for CrimeCon. These are true crime enthusiasts who come together, and we get to meet each other, and you see some great speakers, some great panels. And for me, it's great. Get to meet all of the amazing followers and viewers and true crime, what do you want to call them? True crime fanatics, I think is the best way to put it. And Gary Busey was at one of these festivals. You know, he's a legendary actor, and he's there, again, to meet and greet fans, but he had some wandering hands on that day. And he's taking pictures with women, and his hands were going in places where they were not supposed to go. And he got called out on it. And the women complained, and he was charged criminally. He ended up entering a guilty plea to one of the charges. It took a lot to get to that guilty plea. We covered that day as well. But today was his sentencing. And the bottom line is that this guy, he's older. He's always been a character, like always been a very colorful public figure. But as he's gone on in age, I think it's sort of gotten much worse, I guess is the word, like for appropriate versus inappropriate behavior and timing of things. And I mean, that's the nature of these charges, right? Completely inappropriate. You're meeting people who are literally like paying money to take a picture with you. And you're getting all handsy with them. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, but that's the way Gary Busey is right now. I want you to take a look at his sentencing hearing today. It's one of those situations where it's a Zoom court again, but because the case is out of New Jersey, that's where the Fan Fest was. He's in California. Because it's not a murder case, it's not a case where he'll necessarily do any jail or prison time. There's still a lot at stake here. He was able to appear via Zoom. So it's a little bit more relaxed, but it's still court, and it's your sentencing hearing when the judge, you know, is going to decide, you know, what restrictions will there be on your life. And for how long will those restrictions be there? So you're kind of like, this is the one time where you really want to show a lot of deference and respect to the process. Take a look at what happens.
Mr. Busey,
Yes, ma'am.
you have a right to speak at your sentencing. Do you want to say anything, sir?
I'm following my attorney's advice.
Okay, and what I want to say to you is, you have a right to say something if you would like to. Do you want to say anything?
No, ma'am. I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With that, the court makes the following finding. I do want to state for the record that based on the submissions that were presented to the court in a letter brief back in September 1st, this court had additional concerns. The court continued the matter until 3:30 this afternoon so that the defense counsel could provide the court with a supplemental medical report. And I do note that in looking at that supplemental report from Dr. Amen, and that's Dr. Daniel G. Amen, when I looked at the original diagnosis from that doctor, which was a letter dated April 25th, dated April 12th, 2013, that caused this court concern. That concern has been satisfied. Dr. Amen has written a supplemental letter stating that Mr. Busey is competent to proceed today. So therefore, the court will continue with his sentence. With that, I make the following finding. This defendant is 81 years of age. He pled guilty to count 1 under indictment 338-0225. Count 1 charges the defendant with fourth-degree criminal sexual contact. This plea results from an agreement with the prosecutor. Defendant waives his right to appeal. I have had the opportunity to review the criminal division's pre-sentence report, and I find that this defendant has had prior contact with the criminal justice system. And looking at the pre-sentence report, this defendant has an arrest on September the 3rd, 2004, out of Malibu, California. He was convicted of trespass and disorderly conduct of fighting. He was sentenced on July 16th, 2007 to a 3-year period of probation.
What? I gotta go.
The next contact.
No, I gotta go. I'm gonna pee in my pants.
I'm sorry, Judge. He has to
I
go
have to
use
go
the
in the
restroom.
bathroom.
One moment, okay, let's stop.
So sorry. He had to use the restroom.
All right, we're good.
No worries. No worries.
So the judge was reading the doctor's report. The doctor found him competent. Maybe she misread it. They found him incontinent, maybe. I don't know. Can you believe? I mean, this is just, like, I get it. You get older and these things happen. It might come on you. But this is after like the lunch break, right? So they had all this time and then they just jumped back on to finish this thing. And you got to go, you got to go. All right, let's take a look at the conclusion of the sentencing of Gary Busey.
I find that this defendant shall be sentenced in accordance with the plea agreement.
What?
I find that the defense has failed to meet his burden when I weighed the aggravating and mitigating factors. That fourth-degree criminal sexual contact is a serious offense. And I find that I have not heard anything that will warrant this court to go against the plea agreement as entered. Now, the defendant's exposure for probation is anywhere between 1 to 5 years. The court is to start at a mid-range period, which will put him at 3 years. When I do look at the mitigating factors that I have found, I consider his medical history, I consider his age. In the interest of justice, I am sentencing this defendant to 2 years probation.
Cut him a break, I guess, because of his age, his medical issues, etc. But he's on probation now. What just happened? Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, legal analyst Carmen Rowe, attorney Ali Benevento, and criminal defense attorney and lawyer Lori on TikTok. It's Lori Murray. Carmen, what did we just see here?
A total disrespect for our judicial system is the way I would call that. He seems to hear what he wants to hear, and when it's good, he's fine. But when we start talking about things he doesn't want to hear, he needs to go to the restroom, or he's completely deflecting. I didn't hear. I don't understand. I think that the judge was very lenient, considering what looks to me like disrespect for the court and the entire proceeding.
So, Ali, he's going to be put on probation. Do you think he stays out of trouble for 2 years? Because what happens with probation is if he violated, then they can actually put you into the county jail. What are your thoughts about how you believe, based upon what we've seen here and what we know about the guilty plea and what he was accused of doing? It just seems like inappropriate behavior is like part of his whole thing here, and I'm wondering if it gets him into trouble again.
You know, Vinny, I think you're right. And honestly, I'm not too sure this guy even knows where he is on any given day at any given time. So, and I'm not making excuses for him, but I think you're right. I think it's entirely possible he may find himself in trouble again. I don't know if it's an act or if he really just doesn't know what's going on. It's honestly kind of sad. That was a little bit sad to me to watch. But I do think it's entirely possible he finds himself in trouble again, because there's no telling what he's going to do while he's out on probation for these next 2 years.
And Lori, I'm looking at him, and there are certain moments where I watch him, and you know, you still have the glimmer of what used to be, right? You know, his breakthrough role as Buddy Holly many moons ago, Oscar buzz on that, right? And, you know, we've seen him in reality shows now through the years. At one point, I think he was a judge in a pet court, and he's a bit of a character. But what does our system do with people like Gary Busey, maybe who aren't celebrities, who are on in their years and are doing things that maybe they shouldn't be doing, and maybe they're not of full sound mind and body, but, you know, are still getting along in life?
Listen, you know, I think they do exactly what they did here. They didn't give him any special treatment. This man is old. He has been off of his rocker for years now. If you watch any of his social media posts, if you have seen any interviews with him, he doesn't really make any sense. And competency is a very low threshold to get by to face criminal charges. He's obviously made it past that, but I don't think he would make it much further than that. So the court did what they had to do, which was to get him through the process, gave him 2 years probation. That's a really lenient sentence, but honestly, it's what you have to do, because he's not going to make anything else. And I don't think he'll get in more trouble. He hasn't been in trouble for years, given as wild as his behavior has been. It's never been criminal until now. So I think he'll be fine. I think that he didn't get any special treatment, and we're just going to hope to move on and see him on social media again.
So, Carmen, is Zoom court very, very common these days for matters of this level? Like, we don't see it in the murder trials we cover here on Court TV, but is this part of the practice now in the post, you know, COVID world, that we're doing a lot of remote appearances?
Absolutely. Here in Houston, Texas, in federal courts, you see a lot more Zoom than we ever had before. But I think it gives an opportunity to have people who are out of state who don't have the means or shouldn't be traveling that far to be in court, be present, and for the public to participate. We get to watch some of these court proceedings because they're open courtrooms and people are showing up via Zoom. So I think it's a great opportunity. It's going to become more common in cases where it's appropriate, not a murder case.
And the best part of all this is that if you do have to go, it's like much closer than if you're at the courthouse. You have to go out of the courtroom, you gotta go down the hallway. You may need like the code to get in or something. Here, you just go right through the kitchen and you're there. All right. Think Tank staying with us tonight. When we come back, we're gonna take a look at Wendy Adelson in a way we've never seen her before, through the eyes of her ex-boyfriend, who we've uncovered this police interview, or actually a couple police interviews that he did, saying things that he has never said inside the courtroom. We'll take a look at that, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates, Eric and Lyle Menendez murdered their parents, but because of California law, they are now eligible for parole. And tonight, we will listen to their testimony in front of the parole board. Are their stories credible? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
A young mother found brutally murdered.
Now, the victim's boyfriend, a married father of 4,
is charged for the murder of his alleged mistress and her unborn child.
The pregnant mistress murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, only on Court TV.
You and Mr. Lacasse started having issues around May of 2014, is that fair to say? Being unfaithful, right?
He did.
And that caused a confrontation, is that fair to say?
He flew into a rage.
There she is, Wendy Adelson on the stand testifying about a man named Jeffrey Lacasse. Jeffrey Lacasse, who is that? Well, that was a man that she was dating down in Tallahassee after her marriage broke up. Someone who she was dating right around the time that Dan Markel was murdered. We've seen him testify in court, but what we haven't seen much of are his police interviews. Now, in a police interview, you don't have the rules of evidence, so the person speaking can talk about whatever they want, whether it's hearsay, whether it's admissible, whether it's prejudicial. So you get a much less sanitized version of information. Now, some of the information may be admissible in trial, some of it may not. Now, he's testified in the trials of Wendy Adelson, his ex's brother and mother. But the question we're posing tonight is, will he be the star witness in the trial against Wendy Adelson if and when she is charged in this case? So let's go to the first police interview. This is July 23rd, 2014. This is less than a week after Dan Markel has been murdered, and now he is talking about Wendy and the Adelsons. Take a listen.
I've been seeing a therapist since about, I don't have any major mental health problems, but just to try to deal with Wendy, I was seeing my therapist I used to see when I was going through my divorce. So I was thinking about what we talked about in there. I mean, I've spent like $2,000 on therapy trying to figure out how to deal with Wendy. She's been really hard to handle. And I realized I never put it together, but he for months has been concerned that she's a sociopath. And I didn't tell you guys that before. I still love Wendy. I was under her spell. She called me tomorrow if I go back to her. But there's a lot of stuff that, as I look back, is really strange. To give you a couple examples. Well, I guess one of the things I worry about is Wendy has this public persona. And she's a very good actress. She's very charismatic and all this kind of stuff. And she knows a lot of people. You know, everybody in Tallahassee knows Wendy. You probably discovered that already. I mean, she's in every social circle. You know, she's very social butterfly-esque and out there and stuff. But in terms of people that know her intimately, have spent like a lot of time with her and seen behind the curtain, you know, I think it's Markel, me, and maybe that Sack guy in the last 12, 13 years. I mean, she doesn't, you know what I mean? So some of the stuff I had seen was pretty crazy stuff. I mean, no sense of guilt, no empathy, hypersensitivity to criticism. When I said, hey, you cheated, I mean, that's she would not apologize. She would not say she felt bad. She would not say she made a mistake. She's a total pathological liar, and I feel bad saying all this because I still love her. She has these flaws, and I would have stayed with her. But if you look back at Markel's legal documents, he's constantly talking about her systematic pattern of deception, how she lies all the time. And she told me once, I have a really hard time telling the truth when it's inconvenient or unpleasant. I lie all the time. I mean, she said that to me. So I never would have thought that Wendy was, I know she didn't pull the trigger or anything like that. But the more I thought about it, how much I was manipulated, how much of a spell I was under, and all that kind of stuff, I feel kind of creeped out right now that, not, I don't know if she's a suspect or not, the paper says she isn't. But as an accessory, it makes a lot of sense to me at a certain point.
Wow. How about, like, okay, I get it. He's the ex. I get that part of it. But Allie, what do you think about what Jeffrey Lacasse here is saying about Wendy Adelson to investigators, right? They're trying to figure out who murdered her ex-husband, and he's calling her manipulative, a liar, no sense of guilt, no empathy. She's a great actress.
I mean, none of that plays very well for Wendy, does it? But at the same time, he also kind of sounds like a jilted lover. So he sounds like he's got a problem with her, and he's kind of airing their dirty laundry in their relationship. But at the same time, Wendy's not in a great spot right now. So the fact that these recordings are coming out and people are hearing this, it's not looking too good for her generally. And this certainly does not help things for her.
Lawyer Lori, are we hearing the truth about Wendy, or are we just hearing from a bitter ex here? What do you think?
I think you're hearing the truth. I mean, yes, they were broken up, but he makes a lot of sense, and the things that he's telling them don't really have any basis in the story themselves. He's just providing his truth to them. So I don't know that he's throwing her under the bus so much, but when you start looking at all of the other things and evidence that he gives them, he's the one person that can put her away. So I know she's going to try and say he's a jilted lover, but I believe him.
Carmen, what are you hearing from Jeffrey Lacasse here? Because, I mean, in one breath he's saying, you know what, if she called me again tomorrow, I'm kind of under her spell, I might go back with her.
Vinny, I don't know. Maybe I'm an outsider tonight on things, but I don't think he's believable at all. It's like he has an agenda to throw her under the bus, but I also really love her and she's really great. But I feel like I really need to tell you that she may be a sociopath, and I had to spend money on therapy because she's so manipulative, and maybe she is more involved in this. I mean, he suggests she's an accessory to this murder. I don't think she pulled the trigger, but, you know, she may be involved as an accessory. Unbelievable. And I do think it's his agenda to be there and seem like he's being helpful. But in reality, I think he's trying to get her and her family jammed up because he is the jealous ex-boyfriend that he tells us he is not.
Okay, it's time to hear. Al, you ready? Here's Jeffrey Lacasse describing their last date.
Then on Tuesday, she called me at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And she said, I walked out of my house. We're going to see each other that night. And I say, okay, walked out of your house. What are you going to do? I'm going to try to get a key, but I probably need a locksmith. I said, oh, well, I'll come out and we'll just hang out on your front porch and have our date there. And she's like super sweet and friendly. And it was like everything was okay, actually. She was like, I would love it if you would come keep me company, see you in a little bit, call each other baby, this kind of stuff. When I showed up to yoga, and it ended up that she got into our house, we went to yoga together instead, and we just met there. When I showed up to yoga at 7, something was completely different. She was gone. I mean, and that might have been just her talking to her friend and says dump him, and she decides it, and that's it. It had nothing to do with your case. But I would be really curious to know, if I was you, who she talked to between 3 and 7, because something happened where I seem to be irrelevant all of a sudden. And this is after 15, 16 days of her wanting us to, you know, let's just work this out. It just turned in a second. And it gets a little stranger from there, actually. So she's done with me, right? Okay, I'm looking at her. It's not right. Something's wrong here. I walk out to the car, and it's really awkward. Small talk, you know. I can tell she thinks she's done. But she asked me if I was going to be here this weekend. And it wasn't up in the air. I just didn't want to seem desperate, and I was just going to stay here and not take my trip if Wendy was willing to see me, is what that was about. But she said, but she was really interested. Oh, why isn't it up in the air? Oh, because, you know, his end or something. Oh, okay, well, okay, talk to you.
And this was prior to her sending you the email?
Prior to sending me the email, and the last thing I ever heard from Wendy, last words I exchanged with Wendy were, are you going to be here Friday? I just thought you should know that. It may mean nothing, but it was kind of strange to me.
May mean nothing, and then later he in his mind, he's putting together the pieces that he believes he was being set up to be the patsy, that he had a similar car that the hitmen had rented. Allie, what do you think here about what's going on with Wendy? Is she, like, you know, teasing him? Is she hot and cold? Is she trying to set him up, and that's why she's luring him in for information?
It's kind of hard to tell. I think I'm with Carmen. I don't know that this guy is believable at all. He really just seems like he is somebody who's just venting about a failed relationship, and he's throwing things at the wall, and he's not really saying anything substantive. He doesn't have anything to offer as it relates to the crime itself. He just wants to talk about Wendy and how nutty he thinks she is and how he's got to go to yoga and therapy because of all the things that she said and did to him. Now, whether or not she was trying to make arrangements to put him in that position, I don't know, but I can't quite understand what he's trying to get to. I don't know. He just doesn't come across as having a whole lot of useful information as it relates to the real issue of whether Wendy had any meaningful involvement in what happened.
You know, Lori, you know, to me it was obvious the first time we saw him testify in Charlie's trial, and then hearing more from him, that yeah, but he's convinced that they're all involved. Like, and he was relatively close to her. I'm wondering if his intuition is right, or if he is if everything that he sees is so shaded by the breakup. And it seems like she's the one that kind of broke up with him.
It does seem that way. I mean, he says that he would have taken her back. But again, I think that he's the only one that can place her there. And he's testified twice now, and his story has not changed from these interviews. He has been very straightforward, given the same exact testimony, the same exact story. And he does more than just, destroy her character. He talks about all of the ways that it does look like that they were framing him. I mean, the car that they rented was like his. She got his route to Atlanta because he wasn't going to be in town. And that vehicle with the shooter in it ended up going to Atlanta. So there's a whole bunch of things that are really coincidental that are falling into place to put Wendy there. And I'm going to tell you, the massive public opinion is that Wendy knew everything. So this guy comes off credible to me because I believe she did too.
All right. Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to take a look at more of another one of his interviews 8 months later. What is he telling police then? We'll be right back.
He said, well, Charlie did look into having him killed last summer. He said it would cost about $15,000. this, but this is the time period. I don't know the exact day. I'm so distracted by relationship stuff, I can't quite remember. But she told me that Charlie had looked into having Danny killed in the summer of 2013. She meant it dead serious. I wish to God I'd follow up on that. At the time, I'm trying to figure out us, and I thought, well, Charlie's crazy, I can imagine that, but certainly he's not crazy enough to do that, so I didn't worry about it. So she's in the middle of these conversations where she's just ranting and raving about Danny, very angry with Danny. She's very sensitive, and the worst thing you could do for Wendy is point out that she's not perfect. And that's what Danny represented to her, is he said, you're a liar, things like that. Anyway, she just comes out of the blue, and I said, well, I just wish something, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, this isn't going to ever be fixed in the way you want it. You're linked to this man for your life. There's no fix for this, but you have to fix what you think and feel. And she said, well, Charlie did look into having him killed last summer. He said it would cost about $15,000.
$15,000?
Yes, that's right. It seems cheap to me, but you would know better than I.
Now remember, that's 8 months later. This is another interview further down the road. The first interview much closer in time. 8 months later, here he's talking about that Wendy said Charlie was looking into getting a hitman with a specific price. This is incriminating information. Let's take a listen to more of this. And a lot of what he's describing really seems to be the level of obsession in this custody battle that was taking place. It was an obsession of Wendy's for obvious reasons, but also Charlie. Take a listen.
This is what this family talks about. In that hot tub, I don't remember. He definitely, in that hot tub, half the conversation was about what an Markel is. He was very heated up about it. He's a very intense guy. It was a little different than what I would say at, Bandito's Burritos. Like, someone should kill that guy. I was so sick of really, it was Wendy. I was manipulated. The brother, they were married 9 years. They have 10 years worth of the to be upset about. And they'll rant and rave about how he handled the wedding.
How he handled the wedding?
Kosher versus not. Remember when he did that at the wedding? What? Sure. It's like their hobby. It's bizarre.
And I didn't have that written down. When was the hot tub conversation? That was right after the March 12th?
Yeah, it would have been like March 17th or 18th. It would have been the Sunday at the end of spring break last year. But if the question is, did he threaten Danny? No. If the question is, was he pathologically upset with Danny in a way I found disturbing and that put me off and it was different than, say, even Wendy or her mom? Yes. Incredibly intense about it. Incredibly intense. Charlie's so difficult to get along with, he doesn't have one dental office. He works at 5 dental offices, and they can only handle him 1 day a week in each office.
Really?
Yeah. And he seems to know this and strategize it. He's figured out how to make it work for him, but he was a special ed kid, I believe. He was very difficult to get along with. And he is fiercely protective of Wendy.
It looks like he's in the middle of it, even when they're in the hot tub. They're talking about Danny. Now, the statements that Charlie's making can't be used, right? They have to bring Charlie in for that? Or can those statements that Charlie made be used if it's a trial against Wendy? If Wendy's talking about it, I get it. But if Charlie's talking about it, that's going to be a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit of a problem. And let me be very clear, Vinny. It's not that I'm saying that Wendy is not involved in this crime in some way. I think it's very likely that she is. I think most of the viewers think that after watching these trials.
Were you getting text messages during the commercial?
Maybe. Anyway, no, there's a lot of people watching it. And yes, I did actually get some text messages. But the truth is that I still think Jeffrey Lacasse has a bone to pick with the family, with Wendy specifically, and I don't think that he's going to be the thing that turns law enforcement into people that are going to actually bring charges against Wendy.
All right, I want to play a little bit more because there's a couple things I want to get to here. Here he is in that same interview. This one, buckle your seatbelts for.
As far as seeing stuff pertinent to the crime, I met her brother Charlie when I was down there in Miami for Markel. You may recall that I said I found him to be a very strange person, very aggressive verbally. He takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Wait a minute, back up a second.
Yeah, he takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Sex tourism?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, South America.
I'm kind of a sheltered guy.
Well, I was shocked not only that he would tell people he did that, but that he would tell his younger sister. That was strange to me. Very odd. And there's this odd dynamic between them. The whole family is real weird. Most people that spend time with them say this is, social workers might consider incest in this family. Is there violence in this family? Something's up with this family. But I mentioned to you that he talked in the hot tub about punishing a girl by anally violating her in front of Wendy and I, like bragging about the fact that he'd hurt this girl because she had got him in an uncomfortable situation. So he came off like an offender to me. He came off like a, kind of sociopathic, like this is strange. He just met me. He's telling me this. It was really, really weird.
I warned you. I warned you. Allie, would you like to address Charlie's sex tourism and wanting to punish underage sex workers and discussing all of these details in front of his kid's sister?
Yeah, I mean, if Charlie Adelson wasn't already a man that we all love to hate, I think that really did us all in. I mean, what a cast of characters this entire family is. And I find it really interesting that Charlie was engaging in this type of behavior in front of his sister. And here we have the ex-boyfriend talking about it. I mean, this entire family just seems off the wall nuts. I'm going to go ahead and say it. And so at this point in time, I don't think any of us could dislike Charlie more. The question is, is that going to translate over into Wendy? Because I think there are a lot of people that think she very much had something to do with all of this.
Lori, the interesting part of this for me, talking about what he's discussing here, in front of his sister, but that little comment he said where there's something wrong with this family, something's happening in this family. What do you think it is in the family? Is it Donna?
I think that they have always said that Donna was a micromanager of the entire family. So it probably starts with Donna, and then that behavior is learned by, Charlie and probably even Wendy. So Wendy's trying to micromanage everything about her life with Danny, and it just kind of passes on down. So yeah, there's something wrong with it. And can I believe that he tells her this? I mean, if he's telling her this, which I believe him, I'm sorry, I think he's credible. So if he's telling her all of these things that he has done, why wouldn't he tell her about the murder? I totally believe that she was in on it. I'm waiting on her arrest. I'm waiting on it.
All right, let's listen to one more piece of the interview. Again, this is about 8 months after the murder of Dan Markel.
We had a trip to California scheduled to see my parents the week that Danny was killed. And in early June, she rescheduled that trip. And I said, what's the problem with the trip? She says, well, I'm worried we'll get stuck in the airport and we won't be back on Friday. I have to pick up the kids from school. And I said, but we're coming back Thursday night. It's not winter. We're not going land in the winter. I would understand. There's no way we're going to get stuck. We can rent a car. We have friends that could babysit. This is strange. I said, fine, cancel the trip.
And that was going to be in early June?
The trip was going to be the week that Danny was killed.
Oh, okay. That was the trip?
11th to 19th was supposed to be the trip. So we had a trip planned, and she was real real strange about the fact that we had to reschedule this trip. It just didn't make sense. And I even said, if you just don't want to go because you don't feel comfortable right now, just tell me. That's cool. She goes, no, I have to pick up the kids from school that day. I just have to. I don't want to do anything to stop that. And she said, I'll miss the kids at that point. I said, okay. Wendy Adelson tells me, what I want to do is a staycation. I want to stay home in Tallahassee. I said, you want to stay in Tallahassee the hottest week of the year? She goes, yeah, we'll go to Tom Brown Park. We'll do this. I said, you hate it here. I'm offering to take you away. Why wouldn't you? It was just really strange at the time. I remember saying to my friends, like, Wendy wants... People laughed. I said, Wendy says she wants to stay in Tallahassee. Like, she leaves town. Sure, you know, every chance she gets, she leaves town. Why would she want to stay? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. I finally managed to convince her to do a trip to St. Augustine, but we had to schedule it so that we were back basically by the time of the shooting.
Carmen, is this incriminating?
I don't think so. I mean, what I hear him saying is, I could have taken her on a trip, and that would be great because it would be a fantastic alibi. But because she was actually involved, she had to be here to be involved in the shooting. So it's again, everything he says, it's like, I don't want to say she's involved, but then I'm going to say things that make you think she's involved. It seems to me that he has an agenda and that he's trying to convince police in this manipulative way to go after Wendy specifically and her family generally. And even if some portions of the things he's saying are true, I can't even hear them because all I hear him doing is trying to manipulate me and law enforcement to believe whatever it is he's trying to sell in the room.
All right, let's go around the horn here. 0 to 10, will Wendy get charged? 10 means it's a lock. She is. 0, no chance. And give me a few sentences on why you believe so. We'll begin with you, Allie.
I'm going to give that an 8 or a 9. I think that we have seen through the trials that have come before that there is a lot of evidence that points towards her. I think the prosecution is being very methodical and they're taking their time. I think she ends up getting charged.
Lori, 0 to 10.
I'm going to agree with Allie on this one. I absolutely believe she's going to be charged. And I think that they have been biding their time and given her qualified immunity to get on that stand so they could put everybody else away. And now it's her turn.
Now, I was trying to keep score. So is that an 8-5 like Allie? Because Allie said 8 or 9, so I give it an 8-5. So you're at 8-5?
I'm going to go with a 9.
9. You're going to go with the 9. Okay. Carmen.
I'm going to go with an 8 because it's a great number. I agree with Allie as well, but I don't think it's going to be Jeffrey Lacasse is the reason she gets charged. I do think the prosecution's being methodical. I think they're ready to charge her, and I think they're waiting for her to say, do things that are going to help their case in a real substantive way, and I don't think Jeffrey's going to get us there, but I think she's going to be charged.
All right. Big thank you, Carmen Rowe, Ali Benevento, Lori Murray. Fantastic. Great to have you on. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, the Menendez brothers were denied parole. Tonight, we listen to their testimony before the board. Why were they denied? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Join me for a Court TV true crime series.
I've never seen anything like this.
This was a whole different level.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. Season premieres September 27th.
Only on Court TV.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Take a look at the big board. Here's what's happening in the world of crime and justice. Shh. This is a singer who goes by the name D4VD. His name is David Burke. He's about 20 years old. He has a tattoo with the words shh on it. That same tattoo was found on the body of a dismembered 15-year-old that was found in the trunk of his car. Her name is Celeste Rivas. This now is a murder mystery. The car was found abandoned in the Hollywood Hills. It was impounded, and then they discovered the body. One of David's songs is eerily titled Romantic Homicide. The music video was posted on his YouTube channel. Take a look. The investigation continues. He has not been charged and is reportedly cooperating, according to his lawyer. Please take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is John Jeremiah Morris, just 16, from Abilene, Texas. If you see John, pick up the phone, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Abilene Police Department in Texas. That number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get John to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.